I will call the August 2026 meeting of the Climate Action Planning Committee to order. Welcome, everybody. We have a quorum of 6 voting members present. It's Hale Smith, Anna Morgan Barsamian, Kim Johnson, Arthur Doyle, Alex Hasha, and Maggie Goldfield. And absent are Stephen Popkin and Stevie Caldwell. And I'm probably forgetting somebody. Anyway, I just do that for the transcript. It makes my life easier. And we begin with public comments, and we actually have a member of the public on with us. So if you'd like to say anything, you're welcome.
That's
that me? Is that who you're talking about? I don't need to say anything.
Okay.
I put in my application to join this body. And I think the select board will take it up when they get back in September. So I appreciate all the work that you guys have been doing. I know obviously I've been following it along from select board seat, and now that I'm back to normal citizen, would love to participate.
Yes, Ben's here to see if what we do is cool or not. I assure you it's very cool. So
I know we're cool enough for Ben.
Okay.
We had a band.
So thank you for that. That would help.
Yeah.
That would help people.
Yeah.
So our next item on the agenda is to approve the June 18th meeting minutes. Has anybody had a chance to review those? Have any corrections or comments?
Motion to adopt.
Arthur Doyle motions to adopt. And seconds, all in favor? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I see Anna's hand is up. Great, that passes. And Maggie, are you abstaining? Or did you?
Sorry, I attended via Zoom.
Okay, do you vote yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in favor. All right. So this is the first meeting of our 2026-2027 term. And we have, I think, one new member who's like never been on the committee before, Stevie Caldwell, who is representing the school committee. She wasn't able to make it tonight, but look forward to welcoming her next month. And Hale and Anna have been appointed to voting member seats. So awesome.
I'm going to promote
But you're not at all not new. So the next item on the agenda here is election of officers. But if folks don't mind, before we do more administrative, I'd like to defer that. And since Ben is able to join us for about 20 minutes, it might be nice to sort of dive into some of the updates and discussion. So I hit my threshold for administrative really fast. Great. So I'll start with a few updates from our energy manager, Kai Mueller, who has been working diligently this whole time while we've been kind of on a summer break. So first, we Milton were awarded a Green Community Competitive Grant for a variable refrigerant flow heat pump system at the Council on Aging by the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources. So that's good news. I think we heard about that application in previous meetings. Comprehensive building assessments are in progress for Pierce Middle School, Collegepath, Kingham, Glover, and Tucker elementary schools. At previous meetings, we heard about the completed capital build assessments for the Milton High School, which is the largest energy consumer of any municipal building. So those are in progress. We're currently reviewing a proposal for more EV charging stations at Town Hall. And are reviewing the results of a battery storage feasibility study at the fire headquarters and weighing next steps. And I can't recall details, but there's some interesting opportunities for larger solar and battery systems that could potentially provide significant power and reliability improvements for those sort of town center area, and would be largely funded through grant funding. So it's opportunities that they're looking into. Any questions? I'm sure if Kai were here, he could go into a lot more detail, but that's right. The bullet points that I've got.
Just a quick question, Alex, Kai's doing great work. What is his term?
Yeah.
He's funded for a 3-year, right? And my internal sense of time is terrible. He started in September. Was it last year?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he's 9 months into the job. No, 11 months. That's good. Yeah. It's been an active 11 months.
Thank you. It's doing good work. We want to keep him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we get to the halfway mark, we need to start
Exactly.
compiling the case for that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an update on the Climate Leader Community Certification. So I imagine many of you have heard, but in case you haven't, and for the public, since our last meeting, Milton has actually completed all the eligibility requirements for Climate Leader Community certification by the Department of Energy Resources. The last 2 eligibility requirements were for the select board and the superintendent of schools to approve an electric vehicle first procurement policy for the town fleet vehicles, and to approve the municipal decarbonization roadmap plan that we reviewed in our last meeting as well. And so those were both approved before the June 30th deadline by the select board and the superintendent of schools. So Kai did submit a completed application to the Department of Energy Resources for Climate Leader Community certification, which is pending. So I'm not exactly sure what the review timeline is, but Kai was in communication with our liaison there while preparing the application. So I'm quite confident that we'll be in the next batch of Climate Leader communities that get announced, maybe in September. That would be my guess. Things tend to wake back up in September.
Right.
When does the window for applying for grants close or open for next year?
That's a great question. I don't know. The February 2027 put it through my consciousness. It's on their website. Okay, that's absolutely something we should get our eyes on.
Right. Yeah, come up with ideas of how we wanna, hoping that we do achieve this, but
Yeah,
how we wanna capitalize on it, right?
right. And again, there are 2 kinds of grants that we become eligible for. Once we receive that certification, there are technical planning and assistance grants of, I think, up to $110,000, and then actual project grants up to $1,000.
Maybe it'd be worth researching what some other towns have done. That's the
Yeah.
the chief.
Would anybody like to bring like a short presentation on like 2 or 3 examples?
I'll do that.
Oh, great. So we can plan on that for our next meeting. That's a great suggestion.
So we do that in the waste management planning committees that we're working with and checking on what progress other communities have been making on an ongoing basis is very fruitful. It saves us an enormous amount of time and it allows us to cherry pick almost the state of the art best practices from other communities.
We'll need to reinvent the wheel.
Oh, yeah, and we can't think of everything. But if you put 6 communities out there, chances are you've got 80% of the waterfront covered. And we look for leading communities, Brookline, Cambridge, so on and on, that are really paying attention to that particular topic
Yeah.
on an ongoing basis. I was going to say it on a sustainable basis, but I it'd be fun.
It's your time for it.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions about that? All right. So the next topic, I think, to me, this was one where I'd like more of an open discussion. So our charge is to prepare a climate action plan for the consideration of town meeting. They explicitly asked us to chart a roadmap to eliminate to net zero fossil fuel emissions by 2050, along with the state's goals. And we have a draft plan that's been in draft state for a little over a year. I'd say in the last term, we didn't focus on updating it or advancing it through any kind of approval process. We instead focused more on achieving climate leader community certification, which I'm happy about. But we have not yet completed our charge, and I think we should revisit what that would look like tangibly. So the draft plan is fairly comprehensive, but it does have some sections we had planned, like flood risk management that don't have content. I think in the content that is there are some gaps that if we handed it to a professional climate action planning consultant, they would say, well, you don't have this thing that everybody else has. So one of the reasons that's been on hiatus is because we spent time last year applying for a EEA planning assistance grant through the Eco One Stop program. Unfortunately, we got notification in July that was unsuccessful. In fact, Milton had 4 Eco One Stop grant applications that it submitted, and they were all unsuccessful in this round, unfortunately. But I have been waiting to get details about that, because if we received that grant, we would have funded consulting support to kind of drive a process of stakeholder engagement to finalize the climate action plan. And I do think that part of our charge was to engage residents and to engage key partners and stakeholders of the plan. And I think that's important. It's also very difficult to do well or comprehensively with only volunteer resources. So that's where we are, and I wanted to discuss what do we think we should do next? When Avante told me, our assistant town planner told me that this application had been denied, he did mention a follow-up opportunity might be to apply for MAPC's technical planning assistance grant, or technical assistance planning. we've actually applied for that once before last year unsuccessfully. But this time, the project scope that we had developed for the EEA grant was developed in partnership with the APC and their input, so they may be more amenable to funding. If this or not. So that's one option. But also, I think we've been in a holding pattern for a long time, so I'd like to invite folks have a perspective about how to finish this responsibly and without consulting support. I'm hoping.
One question and one thought on this point. The town meeting, assume we are talking about the annual May town meeting.
It's up to us, but yeah, it was certainly too late for this fall.
But, so what we want to do is back up ourselves from that date so that we calendar and plan accordingly in order to make sure we have everything done on the schedule level.
I guess
what the select would be, that has to go to the wrong committee. So down the line, so it's a long process. It's involved.
I guess I have questions about what it would even mean to submit it to town meeting with approval. There are a couple like tangible questions, like has a plan like this, like let's say the master plan or traffic mitigation plan, have any of those ever been submitted to town meeting for sort of overarching approval? Or do elements of it come through town meeting as
my recollection is, unless there's an element for action like we have had in the past, that there would be the opportunity for an information presentation
okay?
at the town meeting.
Yeah.
That would go through, of course, town moderator and town administrator.
Right, because I think the idea that we would send every town meeting member, an 80-page document and say, we're going to have an article where you vote yes or no on the whole thing, struck me as sure to fail. I mean, because we can't commit to the whole thing up front. It's something to guide planning so that you can do one thing at a time over decades.
It would be very hard for people to digest.
Yeah.
So where's this suggestion to bring it to town meeting come from?
It's from the charge. So yeah, our charge, and I'll read it out loud. Just let's say Milton Climate Action Planning. Sorry, and that's slow, but not as slow as my brain. Very slow. To review and let's see. So the charge to the CAPC is as follows: to review and evaluate town bylaws, regulations, and policies, to make recommendations for strategies for including but not limited to greenhouse gas emission reduction, mitigating climate risks, energy efficiency, and renewable energy as they affect the town of Milton. 2, to solicit public input from experts, stakeholders, and residents. So I think we have yet to do that in a meaningful way. And 3, to prepare a climate action plan for consideration by town meeting that addresses the strategies and best practices for reducing community-wide greenhouse gas emissions from in accordance with Massachusetts law. And 4, to measure the implementation and progress of the strategies set forth in the climate action plan.
So for consideration is kind of a vague term.
It is, So I think
it's more like our message instead of really information on too.
I like that suggestion. And I think we should do that. But we'd have to keep it quite short, right? And more of like here's the greatest hits and where you can find it. And I don't expect a ton will come of that. But we should do it because it's in the charge.
And you can use it as a platform for future action items that might come from the committee to town meeting.
I think what we really need to kind of flesh out is how tangibly will we solicit public input from experts, stakeholders, and residents. And I know Ron has been pushing us all through last year to sort of get our road shows for each of the working groups ready and out there. So I think with the climate leaders push behind us, now's a good time to.
Yeah, we were talking about that at our meeting last week, but we wanted to review with you what the,
Yeah, and I've been on like struck with writer's block a little bit. I think that there's this fundamental communication problem in this domain that the people who get involved are like interested in state energy policy and, you know, renewable energy home renovations and the sort of challenges and complexities of them. I just think the average member of the public's interest and patience for it is a different level. And so like the way that I would write about this is sort of unlikely to find an audience. So I feel I don't want to just barrel ahead and do it the way I would do it naturally, because I feel like it won't work. And yet also, I mean, doing nothing is even worse. So. Yeah.
Well, you know, the plan's all based on state legislation, right? So part of, you know, the explanation could be, here's what the state has set out for the Commonwealth. Here's how we are now planning to comply with it. And then, you know, I think the point that it's a 35, you know, year plan at this stage, 34-year plan.
24.
Oh, it's right.
a decade.
Putting away, isn't it? And so there's no way that, you know, we can describe the whole scope over that period. It may be helpful to, you know, to suggest some priorities that would happen in the next, let's say, 5 years.
Yeah, I think we've done that in the climate action plan. And I think if we're talking to town staff or people who are sort of actively working on moving those priorities along, I think it's at the right level. But I think we need to think more like marketers when it comes to particularly residential building emissions, transportation. It's like not everybody is sort of at any given moment in time, there are certain people who are about to make a decision that is
Buy a new car,
right. They're about to buy a new car, or they're about, you know, they don't know it yet, but their gas furnace is going to die next year, right? And like those are the people you'd want to reach with a message with just one. The state has these goals, and replacing your fossil fuel equipment with electric substitutes is the sort of one sentence summary of how we get there. But then again, like almost nobody makes an expensive home renovation choice because of a state goal. Except maybe like a few people in this room. So why would they choose electric? And I do think that there's probably a substantial audience of people in Milton who, for whom, you know, because it's better for the environment, would be a very compelling reason, right? It still needs to like be affordable, and you know, if it's complicated, they need help. That's kind of what's churning in my mind. Like, where do you start and how do you reach those people?
So one thing I think which would be helpful, because I'm the planning board rep, obviously, is something, a plan which the planning board can reference when a developer comes before us. So right now, what we reference is the Milton master plan. So whenever a project comes before us, we take the master plan and we line it up to the the project development proposal, and we say, okay, how does it achieve some of our goals of the master plan? So what I'd like to see in this, the climate action plan is, direction, some directions to give to board. So planning board, zoning board of appeals, and homeowners is great too. I'm a huge advocate in giving direction to homeowners. But if this is going to be a master plan, a climate master plan, it just would be good, like, in our shade tree section, do we recommend not tearing down a certain amount of trees in a development? So we've had developments come before the planning board and they're removing 300 trees or 500 trees. And obviously, in my opinion, that's drastic. That's a drastic removal, and possibly not all the trees are significant trees. They're not legacy trees, but a lot of smaller trees actually can be more beneficial to the environment too. So it's a collection of trees, and we don't have anything to reference or for the developer to reference. Also, like for low impact design, when people are doing so a parking lot. So obviously all these developments will have parking lots. And we always reference the parking lot at the library. So when they did the library, if you are familiar with the library, there's kind of two sides of the parking lot, and down the middle is a rain garden. And that's actually the drainage swale for the library's drainage issues. So we're also trying to break up parking lots in that maybe every 6 parking spots or every 10 parking spots, there's a tree. So we're trying to eliminate heat island effects in some of these developments too. So I think it would be helpful in this that it actually gives guidance for the boards to reference.
Yeah, and I think all of that is a gap. None of what you just mentioned is in the draft plan at the moment.
Right.
And that all sounded pretty good to me. And I'm worried, do we have the expertise on the board right now to write that? And so
Low impact design, several years ago, we did have an environmental coordinator when I was first on the planning board. So it could have been 2023. And she already has a low impact, she did a low impact design presentation. So the DPW already has it. So a lot of the information is available, but you have to go looking for it. And
yeah.
it's, collected in one area, and everybody's like working on their own. And all this information needs to come to one central location. So and also like the Shade Tree Committee, it's referenced in there, and they're working so hard themselves. So, but we're all kind of not working with each other. So, we need to kind of work a little bit closer together in practical. We need like practical to give the board some direction.
Yeah. Do you have bandwidth this year to take the lead on that? No, I mean, Ron has been leading, the natural land stuff kind of in a different direction.
Right. So when I
But
don't, and that's sort of kind of like his was huge, like such a big view of it and
mhm,
important. And it's good to have, goals, like big goals. But I sort of felt like it wasn't helpful for the everyday, sitting around a table with the developer in front of you or a homeowner in front of you, you know,
yeah,
to say, okay, it's everything we say is arbitrary. And it's like every project is different. It's different requirements. And it's my frustration is that we don't have a standard to say, okay, we're applying this standard to this project, and it's the same standard to this project, and it's the same one to that project. And then it becomes,
yeah,
and then it's kind of, you're viewed at, it's like selective, and you can't apply, you're being selective in how you apply the bylaws, and you can't be doing that. So I don't
yeah,
know how to bring it all together necessarily. I did offer to Ron and Matt that in the spring that I would have gladly hosted, a table from the climate action group at the nursery when we had a lot of foot traffic and people were coming in and buying trees and buying fertilizers. Like we only sell organic fertilizers, but talking about like practical things to homeowners, like you shouldn't be applying fertilizer with high nitrogen and high phosphorus, especially in certain areas of the town, because then it can run into our rivers. But we just never followed up. We never actually got that going. But I thought that would be a good way to start public outreach. So
yeah.
hosting something if the Climate Action Committee wants to do a series of something, you know.
I think, but I mean, before we do jump into public outreach, I think we have to be more clear on like what is the perspective of the climate action plan on these issues, right? So I agree with everything you said. Most climate action plans out there have a lot of material on zoning. Ours does not because we just didn't have anybody on the committee providing that input. Although I will say the MAPC is very focused on that, right? So if we were able to get their support, they would probably bring in all their sort of zoning best practices. And then I think another key issue is the being really clear when we communicate with the public about what's mandates and what's recommendations, right? There is no mandate for individuals or even towns or businesses to reach the state's goals, right? These are the state's mandates for itself that it will manage towards these targets and try to remove obstacles and subsidize industries so that this happens. But there's no point, in law where they start going around people's houses saying, "Oh, you got to get rid of that fossil fuel boiler." And to my knowledge, there's no law that says you can't develop a parcel and cut down 300 trees, even though the state has a goal to expand, the tree canopy in the state. So I think it's important to be really transparent with folks that mostly are not mandates as it applies to them. Because no way to drum up resistance other than telling people they have to do something they don't want to do. Right, and then we have to be careful. Like, I think we can research best practices and try to integrate existing bylaws and with their bylaws, which are binding in town, right? And then the planning board can have guidance, which it sort of offers equally, but guidance is guidance, right? So at the end of the day, you might not be able to deny a permit over failure to follow guidance. So I'm just thinking out loud. I'll just be candid that I don't have the bandwidth this year to try to pull that together. I like the sound of it, and I'd love to see it happen. So folks on the committee want to get that ball rolling, and also like try to connect with people outside the committee who might be able to help. I think that would be great.
This might be a topic to discuss with the town administrator. The planning department staff report to the TA.
Mm-hmm.
And they may be a resource either directly or indirectly through consulting resources that may be available. But I think that would probably be a good start. A key element to what Maggie is talking about is down the road needing to bring all of this together across all of the bodies in the community so that we minimize the single decision-making responsibility allocation, which is sometimes unfairly placed, and take a look at more broadly what it is that we do across organizations within town government.
Yeah, and I do recognize that it's not mandates, but a lot of the things, in the master plan are not mandates, but at least we can say, oh, look on page 45, and right here in our master plan, it says we're trying to retain all of our historic facades of our buildings, and we're encouraging, developers to do that. So we can say that to every single developer, and when they bring up something that might have, like, I don't know, making it up, vinyl siding in the middle of a historic, area, we can say, could you use some more natural products, or could you incorporate natural products into it? And the school up on Blue Hill Ave has really been a great example. They were very receptive. It was easy. It was an out-of-state company, it was a Tennessee company, and every suggestion we made, they took seriously, and they did incorporate different things. But we don't always get those type of applicants who really.
But when you do, it's good to have guidance prepared, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
I can work on that. I am a little hesitant, though, at putting more work on the planning department. The planning department was unmanned for quite a long time, over a year. And so now we have a great planner in Liz Manning and a great assistant planner in Avante. But they also are in communication daily with the building department, and they're trying to manage their all the 40Bs in town and all the development. So I think it would be great if they could be helpful, but I'm also realistic about it. I think it's gonna fall more on the boards. I know the planning board was trying to work on a tree bylaw, and we wanted to update our cut and fill bylaw. So the cut and fill bylaw needs updating because it really disturbs the topography of a site, which then affects, removal of trees and disturbing the soils. So we are trying to work on that too. So we're trying to move things along, but we're also limited on other, with other things coming up. So if the goal is, from the committee wants me to pursue some of these things, then I can do it.
Speaking for myself, I would love to. I think I'm at a point where I'd like to be educated about. I think when you said tree bylaw, I think I had a sense what that is, but cut and fill, that's the first time I heard of that, right? So what are some of the issues that you're dealing with that kind of project on the state's climate goals? And teach us about that. That would be really great. And like, what are the existing plans and bylaws? I mean, that's writing our charge, right? That are relevant to that. And if you can share those, I can start gathering them in our Google Drive. That'll feel like some progress.
Okay, so Go that way. I'll go that way. Thanks.
Anyone else have questions?
Well, going back to the finalization path for the climate action plan, it seems to me that is a great opportunity actually to do marketing,
Right.
as well as education and outreach, because we have like 300 captive person audience. So I would think that we'd want to spend a fair amount of time over the next couple of months figuring out exactly what to present, how to present it, what to emphasize, what to gloss over. So
I just don't feel like of all the audiences you could target for climate action messages, town meeting is not the one I pick as like the most impactful. I mean, yes, they're decision makers, and when big town investments come through, they say yes or no, and we need to understand. But we don't actually have one in front of us, and so trying to get 300 people to pay attention when it's not like germane to a decision they're making tonight is, I think it won't resonate that much. We could spend a lot of time on that and miss out on other opportunities.
I'm not at all clear what you mean by presenting to town meeting.
But we should do that. I don't want to like let it become the big thing that we focus on, because I think we are committed to presenting something to town meeting, but I don't think that that's going to move the needle. Personally, that's my.
And my take on that is, well, that may be the case. It sets the stage for subsequent articles that APC might want to bring to town meeting for favorable action. We've been very successful under your leadership today, and this would be a nice way to continue that, I think.
Yeah, and I might, just to be clear, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, like, let's not spend an inordinate amount of time.
Recognize, too, the town meeting is going to only want to entertain a certain amount of time for the information update. And that's something that we work out with the town moderator. The moderator would say, you've got 10 minutes, which is usually the time that's allocated unless a specific request is made for more time and the moderator grants it.
You happen to recall kind of roughly, so for May town meeting, roughly when is the agenda being finalized?
I'd start 2 months in advance of that.
Do you really think we're ready for May town meeting? I don't think we're ready for May town meeting.
We're not talking about an article. It would just be a check-in of like, hey, our plan exists.
Yep.
That's an option. Like, if we don't want to do that until the plan is final, then maybe we
You said a progress report.
yeah.
Okay,
So
yep.
we're supposed to, yeah. Go ahead, Maggie.
I was gonna say progress report is good. I misunderstood, so sorry about that.
The other option, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I've been talking now.
The other option that I can think of, I know some of us are town meeting members, so instead of like a formal presentation, we could have one or a couple of us just speak to what we're doing for the Climate Action Planning Committee. It doesn't have to be a formal presentation. Obviously, we won't have as much time and we won't have slides, but it could at least just put the word out there if people are interested.
When you make comments from the floor, though, don't they have to be germane to whatever article is being discussed?
They do, but like it has to be adjacent.
Just because they aren't always.
You could make something work.
But yeah, I think working backwards from that, That's one thing we should do, but to sort of finalize and approve the plan, I think approved probably by the select board. At some point.
They appointed us, and I think the first step for any approval has to go to the select board to determine each and every article that goes to the meeting,
Yeah,
unless
I
it's
just- I
a
just-
citizen's petition.
but I'm not expecting that when this plan is final, and even when it's final, it will continue to evolve or will be relevant. So final just would be some sort of moment of recognition that it's like relatively
That
comprehensive.
ties in with the notion of progress equal because it's organic.
Right. Well, then we move from planning to implementing and monitoring and activity. So I agree, I don't think we're there yet. But if we felt like we had a plan that was complete and we wanted someone to bless it, I'd imagine it would be the select board. Is there a precedent for that? Is the select board like approved other, did they approve the master plan? What did that look like?
Yeah, and the select board approved the pedestrian and bike master plan.
So what did that discussion look like? Because that's not the same thing as committing to do every single thing in there in advance, right?
So I think I think since this, and Arthur could correct me if I was wrong, but since town meeting created the climate action committee and had a charge, I think they have to have the final say in adopting the plan. Where
The select board created the committee.
yeah, but wasn't it approved at town meeting?
No,
No,
Okay. Okay, so they can just go to select board then? Yeah. So I think that's what the bike and pedestrian master plan did. And then they did come, the bike group came to the planning board and presented, and the planning board took a vote to approve it. We made some comments, because the bike plan affected certain neighborhoods, especially my neighborhood association had comments about the plan. Because one of the plan was to widen Chickatobit and Unquity roads, which is increasing impervious surfaces, which makes no sense from a climate perspective. So like my neighborhood was concerned about that, especially for speeding. If you're putting more asphalt down in the middle of the Blue Hills, you're going to increase speed, you're going to increase traffic, and then it's going to affect stormwater, coming off the Blue Hills. But in any event, so certain neighborhoods had input into the bike and master plan. And so I hope those comments were attached to the bike and master plan. So if that ever comes to fruition, they would go back to the neighborhoods that had a concern. So,
but historically, the implementation plan was a joint planning process of the select board and the planning board.
yeah, so I think, getting approval or support from planning board, getting approval from school committee, because there's a school committee rep on this, I would, from the elected boards, I think would be really valuable.
maybe does the master plan implementation committee still exist? Renamed, right?
Yes, it was done at the last time meeting.
Right. So that yeah, I think it would make sense to formally present the plan, but at least those three: school committee, planning board, master plan, implementation committee.
Select board.
Are there any others that hold to mind?
I think that'd be the topic for the discussion with TA.
Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission.
Anybody that has a representative to this body That's appropriate.
Right.
Planning board
That's a
consultation.
simple way of putting it, yeah. Try to get in front of
That's involved the roadmap.
the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce, if you're listening, you still have a seat, you can take it at any time.
Chamber of Commerce is listening.
Yeah. Maybe someday they'll watch the video. Tongue out of cheek. I really, I imagine there are a lot of real estate brokers in the Chamber of Commerce. And at some point I would love to connect with somebody from that who is interested in these topics, because I can't think of an audience that's more fertile for sort of home clean energy renovations than real estate brokers. They're dealing with people who are either about to sell or have just bought on. Also for new habits like waste disposal. It's a good group to reach.
What about a contractor? Should we reach out to a contractor?
Oh, yeah. You mean just people from
Like, I don't know, we have so many contractors in town, from all different areas of expertise, from, putting in HVAC systems and, I would.
yeah, it's there are obviously stakeholders and would be great partners. I've just been personally it's not clear to me how to reach out, or sort of with what message, right? What would the ask be? Certainly if a contractor showed up and said, like, I love this topic and I can bring all my experience and I want to serve on the committee, that would be very welcome. But that hasn't happened. Right?
Would this be worth a conversation with the chair or president of the chamber to follow back here?
We've tried to make contact in the past, and it really, if you don't, people are very busy, right? I just find that if you can't tell them this is what we're gonna talk about in the meeting, this is sort of the request I'm making. Maybe people take a meeting, but to be nice, but it doesn't go anywhere. Like, what is the ask? I don't know what the ask is.
I wonder if the ask is, if the goal is to complete the plan, the ask for 1 year would be to help have input into writing a plan. And I think it's helpful to have a contractor of some sort on it, because they can say what they're seeing with homeowner renovations, and they can help, guide the process. So just as an average homeowner, I'm overwhelmed. I have no idea who to call, what to do, if I want to put solar panels on. A lot of people just would rather hire somebody to figure all that out.
They have to. Yeah. Most of the stuff you can't do without your $5,000 of on the job licensure training.
I'll be
Yeah.
on the
I don't know. I think that that's we've been at this for a few years, and people who are willing to sort of dig into the Word document, that's pretty rare. So,
Well, I haven't looked at that plan in a while, but I'd like to, I think maybe we should all take a look at it again and just see what are the glaring, things that need to get worked on.
yeah, let's, everybody should
And
feel welcome to, and actually at the beginning of our new term is a good time for it, right? You can find time to pull it out and read the thing and compile your reactions, your thoughts about what's missing, suggestions about what you'd like to add. Please do that. But I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, I'm in a different place in my life than I was when we wrote that 2 years ago. I can't sort of be the master writer. So if it's gonna change and expand, it needs to be more of a group effort. And I think when people have shown up and said like, I want to write pieces of it, I've been pretty open to that. And so the supply issue is more on terms of people who are sort of ready to do that. But you especially are welcome, and like any expert you can find in the community who's willing to do that, you're welcome.
For example, the flood section is just totally missing. We could probably have someone from the Hudson River Watershed Association.
If they're willing to, yeah, they definitely have their own documents on this stuff.
I mean, it could possibly even be just cribbing what they have.
Oh, yeah,
That in itself is worth it. Okay? Like everything that's in there, I already cribbed from climate action plans and
also PCF, which is elected. So we can talk about it. That's what you can think.
So,
You take a crack at it.
Yeah.
Alex, we have down here, 2026, 2027 priorities. Is that something you want to talk about? Steve?
yes. So if you have proposals for things that you would like to focus on, this is a good time to.
Grant proposals, grant topics and stuff that you have in mind. But no, how possible.
Well, certainly, grant proposals are always helpful. But they need to be focused towards some goal, some project, and what are those projects, their goals that this committee would hope to accomplish over the next year.
Did you have something that you wanted to bring up, or you're just asking us to?
Well, no, it's really more a question that I don't have the answers. I mean, I'd love to see Eversource, put in a network geothermal system in the historic district of the town, and hook in our municipal buildings, the police station, the fire station, the town hall, the library. They could all be on one shared system, but would be a huge project.
I don't think it's something that will happen this year.
I don't think
we could focus on laying groundwork for that to be possible in the future. Possibly. Anything we can go around. I can share what I hope to work on this year. In buildings. The buildings category, I continue to think that while building emissions are not the largest category of emissions, I think they're the largest category that's sort of actionable for a Milton resident, because a lot of our town's transportation emissions come from the highways that cut through town. Right? And if you look at towns with similar demographics to ours that don't have highways cutting through town, then buildings are sort of 75%. So, and we've taken meaningful action in the past to ensure that new construction is energy efficient and electrification ready, and that's great. But like the vast majority of our building stock in town is residential and pre-existing. So think of homeowners and landlords and businesses who own buildings, their decisions to replace their fossil fuel heating equipment with electric alternatives at end of life, like that's the game. Taking advantage of mass save, installing solar where appropriate, like this is what we want. These are the behaviors that we want to encourage. And thinking about what could we as a committee even do about that. I think it's some marketing, right? So getting the word out there that like this is good. Why is it good? Well, it's good for the environment, but why is it good for the homeowner? thinking hard about like who's ready to take that step and we should be engaging with, and like who isn't, right? So I wish all of these things were just a slam dunk, like the cheapest, the best, and it sells itself, but that's not true, right? So I think solar panels for people who can afford them, they're kind of a financial slam dunk. They're really nice. I feel very comfortable being a solar booster. Like heat pumps are still a maturing technology and like really difficult home renovation. They cost more than the alternative fossil fuel equipment. Like there's a lot of like very real obstacles for that industry to overcome before I think it really takes off with mass market adoption. And so we like need a coherent theory of change. And I think where a lot of the advocacy groups that push this stuff lose their way is they want to like bury the difficult stuff and just say like it's great and everybody should do it, and if we just post on Instagram about it 6 times a week, like everybody will do it. I don't think that's true. So there's a long-winded way of saying like I would like to do something meaningful on that, and I am really stuck where to start. It's in the draft plan that we should launch a electrify Milton program that would be focused on supporting homeowners to utilize mass save, successfully perform heat pump renovations and access rebates, install solar. But that's a lot. I'm not sure where to start. But that's kind of my personal priority. If I can do something meaningful this year, we'll be in that bucket. And also, we have this responsibility to make some progress towards finalizing the plan. I really don't want to do it without consulting support. And I've been dragging my teeth. Those are my 2 things.
Well, on the waste meeting, like I feel like there's a bunch of things we're working on, getting getting composting in the school. That is something that Lauren and Casey are going to try again on. Continuing to like bring the recycling contamination rate down, which I don't know, it just feels like we have a lot of things there where you talk about them, but it'd be good to get a little bit more progress. But I did like email Missy and she sent me some good resources. So now I'm on her list, and she suggested that I go to a meeting for other groups like ours. So I'm hoping that I can learn more about how to. She's awesome. And so as far as waste is concerned, I mean it's a pretty straightforward subject, but just keep on keeping on. And we have a good group, I think, with Lauren and Arthur.
And you're still meeting regularly?
We do once a month. I think we missed in July because Casey was out of town, but I think a lot of people
We're just like recovering.
Yeah.
Could we advocate back to composting? So could we advocate for some land in town at the DPW yard perhaps be set aside for homeowners to bring up their own composting and litter debris? So right now, most homeowners rely on, the yard waste pickup, which only happens not super frequently. But could we find a place in town where homeowners could bring their composting material in those off weeks? Because like back in the day before the dump closed, you used to be able to bring all your waste up. It wasn't just a dump for trash, but it was a dump for yard waste too.
Yeah, actually has done that.
Yeah. What
expertise is required to manage a site like that? And do we have it? I guess would be the question, right? Because I know there was a controversy a couple of years ago where a commercial composting facility somewhere in Massachusetts was leaking PFAS into the groundwater. Because they weren't managing the contamination properly, and they didn't have, groundwater controls. And so the thing I took away from that is like, oh, this actually, you can't just sort of like invite people to dump stuff somewhere. There are probably regulations or things that could go wrong that you need some expertise to avoid.
Yeah, like I bring all my stuff someplace. I have a compost pile, when I go to someone's house and work on their yard, I bring it back to the nursery, and then eventually I haul it out to somebody. So I'm thinking the town do the same
You
thing.
have one on site at the nursery, as you're saying?
Yeah, so I have a compost pile here. So like, we have to separate the like bigger branches and bigger logs, and then the leaf, um, leaf debris, and then we just have a pile, and then eventually we haul it out someplace. So I'm thinking if I can do it, then the town could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely encourage trying to have those conversations. I feel like I don't know enough to
It would
try to spin them
It's
up.
worth adding it to the agenda,
And maybe
Yeah.
like Black Earth Compost Company could manage it. Right now they just, as if my understanding is correct, they go around and collect it at people's homes. Maybe if we had an area somewhere in town, it could be the DPW. Maybe they would even rent.
Yeah, for food waste, besides the Black Earth compost picking up at people's houses, there are three locations in town where, where residents can bring their food waste and just for free use, compost, but it's not for yard waste, it's just for food waste. And even Black Earth, like, you can't put your yard waste in Black Earth. They don't. You could ask for like a different plan that would allow you to like have Black Earth take your problem.
So were you talking about a place for people to take yard waste between yard waste collection days?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so that's a different topic.
Yeah.
That's what I know you must about.
It could
I just
be.
keep it in my garage and watch it like.
Until the bag, the bottom of the bag just falls
Yeah,
apart.
this summer's been about, I put in a clover lawn and like the weeds and the rabbits love it. There's so many weeds that I've been weeding you. And fill up a garbage bag with weeds, and then I come back, not a garbage, like a garbage pail with weeds to the top. Come back 3 or 4 days later, it's like 2/3 empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have such a process in another town that I'm affiliated with. It takes a lot of land to do.
The yard waste.
Be kept, right, because you need space where people can drop off. Then the town has to transport it to another location for the composting to take place.
Hmm.
Then after it's turned into earth, let's say, it's then brought back into a location proximate to the drop off. The people can go and fill their pickup trucks or the trash barrels
Yeah.
or whatever they want with earth to use for their gardens, lawns, and
So I
stuff.
guess, I mean, clearly lots of towns do this. I know where my mother lives in Virginia, that's, their place she can take her waste.
And you have to build that into the whole budgeting process. You have to have space. We have a pretty compact.
But I guess the first step would just be like researching towns that do this, like how do they do it?
There's a lot of information on that.
I'd be interested to find out like what happens to the yard waste that is picked up, like where does that go?
Then
I buy the product. I buy the end product. So it's kind of crazy. I pay to dispose of it, and then I pay to bring it in. They're two different companies. But what I do, and I bring it in, certified organic, and one comes from food waste. It's a food waste product, and one is more of a horse manure based product. And yes, those types of facilities are huge. Those are multiple acres. So I don't think Milton has that. But if we had, if I can do it here at the nursery, maybe there's a site at the DPW or somewhere else. So back to another, goal is the town should be buying land. We should be preparing for the future, and maybe we need to purchase some land, or maybe we work with the state at the ride on Granite Ave, where they store their salt there. Maybe they have some extra space there. It's right on the highway. So it's planning for the future. We're all going to
The
have
compost in the area that, in the community that I referenced, consumes most of the area of a capped landfill. In order for the whole cycle to
But that's where
work.
the actual composting is occurring. But it sounds like what you're describing, Maggie, is more like a staging area where it could collect for a period of time before it's sort of picked up by the actual composter in bulk.
yes.
Yeah. Whereas this other community self-composts.
Right.
And that's what I think I heard you say about Virginia.
Well, no, that was my ignorance talking.
Oh.
I think
So there are different models.
like Maggie was saying, there's a lot of people involved here. There's the people who you pay to take it away, the people who I guess are buying it from them so that they can actually make the compost and then sell it back to you, and the people who you pay to bring it to you. Right. But people have to make a living. So.
Nobody's got to do it for nothing.
No, we don't have to be all of those people to
Right.
benefit residents by giving them somewhere they can take their
and
yard waste.
yard waste does get picked up. I have seen people complain about how frequently it is, but I mean, do they want to pay more money to have it picked up more frequently? Like, there's really cost money, so.
The other point that I wanted to make that I referenced earlier is with respect to the unsuccessful grant applications.
Mhm.
One of the methodologies that we used to use in my previous business was anytime, well, whether it was successful or unsuccessful, we ultimately requested copies of the successful recipients so that we could see what approaches they used, what content they followed, and so on down the line. Even though there wasn't necessarily going to be in the next year or two an exact replication of that type of a grant application, you get an idea of what people are thinking about, how they're putting together their proposals, how they're budgeting them, and so on down the line. So maybe one of the things that we might consider is asking this admittance if they could possibly get a couple of copies of successful responses to the proposal.
I mean, I can tell you some feedback we got while we were preparing this application that I think is relevant. Just that this model of make a climate action plan, get it approved by your governing body of the town is basically the roadmap that has been set out for municipalities to engage with the state. But I think they're finding it's been 5-6 years now that the towns have been kind of doing this systematically, and I think that the funding agencies are starting to feel like, well, it takes a long time, and then and you haven't really done the climate action stuff yet. So I think they're starting to feel like, okay, 2030 is getting really close, and what can we do that's going to make a bigger difference quicker? Okay. And so they're not prioritizing planning support. I think they'd rather fund projects. And MAPC was interested in a kind of much more streamlined planning process. And honestly, at this point, so am I. So I would love to talk to them. Another reason to talk to them next is because our next opportunity with EEAs, they don't even launch the expression of interest until September. So it would be basically a whole other year before we could hope to get funded by that. I'd rather do something quick and dirty faster than that.
Yeah, show some progress. Yeah. It is kind of silly to have like every single town make a climate action plan that's the same as
They're all very similar.
everyone else's.
But it's not so much the plan as the, the people in town, engaging with the material, right? Like, you need people in town who've actually read climate action plans and have applied it to their own case. It's more about creating us and the town staff that we work with, so orienting us towards the work and it's about the document. Nice. At least that's what gets me into the morning.
Alex, you had asked what was important to us this year, so I just wanted to share my thoughts. I am interested in continuing to think about an alternative to a consultant. As you all know, I worked hard to try to get the student fellow for the town over this past summer, but I was actually thinking about a technical assistance as an option through some of the Massachusetts organizations, and I can look more into this, but oftentimes in my day job, I work for an organization that does technical assistance. So the grants will fund the technical assistance center, and then they provide free service and advice support to municipalities and so forth. So I want to look into that a little bit more to see if technical assistance would be an option that could help us with implementation or at least reviewing our climate action plan.
That would be great. Yeah, do you have specific organizations you're thinking of?
So I was poking around just as we were talking, and it looks like MAPC actually has a technical assistance program. So I want to look more into that. That seems like probably something that would align with our work.
Yeah, that was exactly what Avante recommended we do next.
Oh, okay.
Is engage with their technical assistance program.
Yeah. I think that would help us a lot. So I'm happy to look into it a little bit more, and then also be on any part of planning and connecting with the group.
Great. Yeah, and I think the other reason he was hopeful that would work out is because we worked out our project scope for the last grant application with that team at NBC. So they're already familiar with us and what we're trying to do. And hopefully that would make a difference.
Yes.
Great. So remaining, two more topics. We're getting close to 7:30 here. Can I circle us back to election of officers? I'm ready for some more administration here. Anybody want to propose something other than the status quo?
Well, what is
Should we? The status quo is that I'm the chair and there's no secretary. And we could also wait until we have everybody here. But if everybody's just going to say, Alex, please serve as chair again, like we could just vote on that.
Will you?
Yeah, I will. I feel like I kind of got it down now. The process doesn't take me too much time every month, and I'm in love with it.
I'll move accordingly.
Seconds.
Second.
Okay, Arthur moves to be as chair and seconds. All in favor? Seems to be everybody. All opposed? Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence. If I sound tired, it's because I am. But that's okay. Anybody want to be a secretary?
I could do that. I mean, you just record it and then and
Yeah, I have a process for that too, honestly. Which I'm fine with, and it kind of helps me prepare the next agenda. Yeah, I take the YouTube videos. I run it through a transcript tool, which is able to not just,
Yeah.
YouTube has the transcript, but my tool, will say like speaker one, speaker two, then I go through and I label, who's speaker one. Feed that into Cloud Code, and I have a skill now where it can make the minutes. So it would be actually, we have a secretary, it'd be great for me to then send that and actually have somebody to like read through the whole thing.
Okay.
Because I honestly haven't had time to like really read it. And that's not great.
So I'll move the nomination of Kim.
I spot should. So Arthur moves, Kim serve as secretary,
Second.
Hale seconds, all in favor? Aye. Wonderful, wonderful, that's secretary.
And Kim, if you ever need backup help, I'm happy to step in and help you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing the AI first draft and then send all that to you
Okay.
as a starting point.
Yeah.
I was looking it over before the meeting today, and there's some ridiculous stuff in there that I hadn't even noticed, so I think that first pass like about a real person is
Yeah,
kind of improvement.
clean it up.
Great.
Does the document come out in a Word document or what sort of?
It does. Cloud's been pretty amazing. It's amazing how it can do. It drafts this agenda as a Word document as well. I have it go through all the emails that I take meeting notes every meeting that I do. I sort of write up a summary afterwards, and it goes over all my emails and like proposes an agenda. And sometimes it puts stuff on there. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sure, absolutely. And great. Thank you, everybody. So that was item 5. So we have working group updates, new and noteworthy. If there's anything people want to talk about, and then I have a quick final word about recruiting, what open seats we have left. We can do that.
I feel like we kind of covered the waste working group. I guess there was only one other subject, which was just that Cassie had sent in the trash bill, a thing about plastic bags, and we thought it looked good. We discussed about how, Lauren had shared some research that said that it's when you're trying to get an environmental idea across to the public, it's good just to be super simple, like a couple of words, So that's why her thing was like no bags, and I was just like a real direct, and I thought it did sort of stand out when I opened up my trash bill. So we talked about that.
So this would be a disposable plastic bag can and.
No, it's just that no plastic bags in the recycling.
Oh,
That's the big
right.
problem with recycling contamination.
No bags in the bin.
No bags in the. Yeah.
Sounds like an Instagram post to me.
Yeah.
Need a moving picture of some kind.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other updates? I will share just on the topic of energy efficiency with this town center area. The United Congregational Church adopted a Creation Justice Covenant in June, so we've committed to planning towards eliminating our fossil fuel use by 2050, and we are trying to gather all the information we need for basically like the mass safe assessment, the environmental stewardship assessment. You guys did that, right? Mm-hmm. So in terms of laying the groundwork for something ambitious, something network geothermal, first we need to know how many furnaces we have. So that's where we're currently at, but getting organized for that stuff. And we approved our solar project, which is gonna get going here in October. That's.
Wait, can I ask a question? I remember someone mentioned that Is it the roof on the new fire station at headquarters wasn't pitched correctly for solar panels? Where does that stand?
Okay, he mentioned that, and I have a bi-weekly check-in with Kai, and I know we talked about that. Let's see if I can find it. My recollection is that eventually it turned out it was okay. They were prepared to proceed with
Okay, good.
the grade as it is.
There's a measurement issue, was it? And they just met.
No, I think their engineers needed to like review it and go over the financial implications again, and let's see if I can.
I thought I read that it was a 5% grade and it sounded like that was fine.
That was the measurement issue, that's what I was going to say exactly. I think it came in right spot on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't find my notes under duress, but
they're okay.
That's what I remember. My memory is faulty. Okay, great. So final thing on committee recruitment. And let me get the roster in front of me. We have 3 open seats for voting members. 1 second.
How many people have submitted an application?
1. So you saw Ben Zoll was here to sort of see where we're up to. He's submitted an application, which is great. So yeah, the currently open vacancies are for this a select board member or designee, a chamber of commerce designee, and a high school student. So I think it would make sense to me that Ben would be appointed by the select board as their designee, which would leave chamber of commerce, which has never been filled, and a high school student. And so I've been waiting for the school year to start to kind of try again. My feeling is I love the idea of having youth participation in this. I think it's also really challenging to make this meeting into something that like a high school student would find rewarding or actionable. I know that when we did have a high school student on this committee, they found it frustrating. Welcome to adulthood. So, right, I'm like a little mixed. I'm not quite sure how to sell it to students, and I'd love to make it, really rewarding and enriching experience for them. So if anybody's got ideas, I'm married to a teacher, so I have learned over time, like, just what a skill set that is and how much I don't have it. So if any of you have it, like, my ears are open. Love your help. If you've got young people in your life that you think would enjoy this, or would enjoy it if we structured it a little differently, like, please, reach out to me, reach out to them directly. And I have some blurbs that I can share, like longer and shorter announcements that these opportunities exist. I also think that if we get through like the beginning of the school year and we still haven't found anybody, we might consider asking the select board to remove these seats that are tough to fill, just because I'm always struggling to make quorum. So, any thoughts?
The only one about the student would be to possibly ask the secondary schools to recruit a candidate from their environmentals key class,
Yeah,
environmental science class.
that's what I've done in the past.
But
So the first year I did that, I got somebody, Reagan, was their first thought, so she'd be great, and she said she'd do it. And then I did it last year and they didn't come up with anybody.
Does it high school student or could it be like a college student or a post-grad student?
It is, the current wording of the charge is that it is for a high school student resident in Milton. One high school student who is a Milton resident, but may be attending any secondary school within or without the town. So they have to live here, but they don't have to go to Milton High School.
And the Chamber of Commerce, is that a member of the chamber or a member or a designee?
One member of the Milton Chamber of Commerce or its designee as selected by the chamber.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think in the first year, we reached out to them multiple times to invite them to elect somebody and stopped trying after a year or so.
Well, interestingly enough, I just got a update from the chamber saying they're meeting on September 3rd. So I'll have to bring it to their attention.
Yeah. And we're in a different place now, right? So I think it's same thing with the high school student. It's sort of what is the way you could frame the work for somebody in that group that would make it feel worthwhile to them.
There's certainly composting in the schools, yeah, a direct link.
Oh, for students.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So that could be something they could join to focus on one particular priority related to the schools.
Yeah.
Right.
They're always looking to pad their college applications, right? So maybe it's, I have a junior and a senior at home, so but they're not really interested in environmental things, unfortunately.
It may have to be mixed as they get community service hours for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm about to have a high school student in my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Starting a rising sixth and rising ninth grade.
Good.
Very excited. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. So is there any other comments or questions or thoughts or additions before we wrap up this evening?
I have one personal update. I'm expecting a third baby in February, so that shouldn't affect anything, but just so everyone knows, come February, March, maybe I won't be attending.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dispensation.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, with that good news, I will invite motions to adjourn.
So moved.
Dale moves to adjourn. Can I get a second? Arthur moves to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Alex.
No, you're right.
Thank you for your willingness to serve again.